Alright, like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called The Woman in the Window. Confined to her home by agoraphobia, my bad. A psychologist becomes obsessed with her new neighbors when solving a brutal crime that she witnessed in the windows. This movie just came out. It's an hour 41 minutes long. It's a murder mystery and there's a lot of variables in this one. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So it starts off with snow falling. Then we're in this house where old movies are playing. They brought the still image effect back. I ain't seen that in years. Then we have our girl Anna looking out the window, checking out the new neighbors. Now, although she is a psychologist and specializes in child psychology, she actually has a therapist that comes to see her by the name of Carl. So she has agoraphobia, which is the phobia of not being able to leave your house. Hence why the therapist comes to see her. Now, she's been prescribed this prescription called Elevan, but she takes it while she's drinking. Obviously, that's not supposed to be done. Every now and then we get these conversations where she's talking to her husband, Ed, but she's always talking to him over the phone. One night, somebody rings her doorbell as she drops her wine glass. It's this kid by the name of Ethan. He offers her a gift. And she's like, shouldn't I be giving you a gift since you're just coming into the neighborhood? So they're having a decent conversation until he starts staring out the window. She asks, like, are you okay? He's like, I'm good. But she can sense something's wrong. Like I said, she is a child psychologist. You can tell he has something he wants to get off his chest, but he doesn't bother telling her about it. Well, anyway, she starts talking about her and her husband not living together. She also has a daughter too, but he's watching after her. She let him borrow some movies because he's a big movie buff. Yeah, like yours truly. And then he goes back home. And I've already noticed throughout the film, she likes to watch a lot of black and white old movies. I mean, the whole movie honestly felt like a long Twilight Zone episode. Especially when they kept showing the snow spin around again. And especially hearing the music. Like, no, seriously, it felt like Alfred Hitchcock rose from the dead and put this together. She also has a tenant that lives downstairs by the name of David. He's like her handyman, a regular Mr. Fix-It, if you will. Kind of like Overton from Living Single. Anyway, he's pretty cool with her, but he's got his own problems to deal with. Later on, she falls asleep watching some old movie again. Matter of fact, I don't know what the fuck she's watching. All these goddamn eyes. Then all of a sudden, she is banging downstairs. She wakes up. She goes downstairs, sees a bunch of kids throwing eggs at her house. I guess it's Halloween. She wants to open the door to tell them to stop, but she's scared because obviously she's scared to go outside the house. She yells through the mailbox slot, but obviously they ain't listening. Then from there, I guess she attempted to go out and then passed out. Then we see this lady talking to her, asking her, like, do you need to go call 911? As all of a sudden, she just laid out on the couch. So she asked who this lady was. She just assumed it was Ethan's mother, and then she said she was Jane Russell. So yeah, Anna, that is Ethan's mother. They had conversations about Anna's symptoms and all that. And she has this necklace where she shows a picture of Ethan when he was younger. They just chilling having casual convo at this point. I'm guessing when she left, she drew this picture with her name on it. That picture's gonna come up later on. So somebody else approaches the door, and it turns out to be this guy named Alistair Russell. This is Ethan's father. He wanted to know if any of his family came by, and she lied to him and said no. So he's like, alright, whatever. So she's talking to her husband the next day as she's already painted out Alistair to be the bad guy of the group. She's startled when she sees David downstairs, and let me tell you, this movie's got a lot of quote-unquote jump scares in it. Mostly because she's scared of every damn thing. David said he knocked a couple times, she didn't answer, but all he really needs is a box cutter. Then he's like, yeah, your house is moldy, you need to check this out. He goes up on the rooftop inspecting shit. Then she's telling David to come back inside. And then she gets scared again when he comes around the corner. I'm like, really? How do you get scared twice? You know where he's at, you just saw him. Afterwards, she takes a bath and she's looking through her phone. We get a montage of videos. That's her husband, Ed, by the way. And this little girl's her daughter. I know it's kind of fuzzy. Yeah, I tried to pause it at the right time. Don't worry, I'll get a clear picture of her later. So after she gets out, she does her usual staring out the window. Apparently, Alistair and Jane had an argument and she's sneaking out the house. While she's looking at everything, she was talking to Ethan at the same time. As she's walking off, she keeps looking behind her. And then her phone goes off as Alistair calling. He's like, yeah, did you call my number? She says she heard her scream from the house. He's like, what are you talking about? Ain't nobody screaming. But while he's talking, he's got a hammer in his hand. What was he planning on doing with that shit? Then she asks David if she heard the scream. He's like, no, I was listening to music. Then she goes back to her post and starts taking pictures. She was taking pictures of Ethan and Alistair having conversations. Next thing you know, Ethan comes by the house and asks what's wrong. He's like, Dad's just stressed out, don't worry about it. So as he's crying into her shoulder, she's thinking to herself, like, do I need to call Child Protective Services? Then she gives him her number. It's like, hey, if anything bad, call me, regardless. It's Thursday at this point, and she's talking to her husband, Ed, and wondering if she should call Child Protective Services, but obviously it'd be with her word against theirs. As she's looking out the window, David and his crew are about to go to work. So at this point, she done switched up medications. While still doing things you're not supposed to be doing while drinking wine. And she's got a cat, Percy, and considering everything that's going on with her, she's definitely a cat lady. She falls asleep watching another old movie, and you know what? I'm pretty convinced now. This is a Twilight Zone movie. Alfred Hitchcock is behind this somehow. And in this one scene, she's spazzing out looking for her phone. And trust me, when you hear the music in this scene alone, Twilight Zone, son. Here comes some real craziness as she's looking out the window again. It looks like she's arguing with somebody, but you really can't see anybody. Then all of a sudden she goes flying back with a knife in her stomach. I'm like, what the fuck? Exactly, Anna. Oh shit. So she gets on a landline phone, tries to call 911. She didn't get through, then she found her phone, she called 911. And now she's pretty much scared. Then her phone cut off and now she's prepared to go across the street. She takes an umbrella. There's a reason why, but I forgot the explanation. Just watch the movie. Anyway, she gets outside with the umbrella. When she's crossing the street, she's damn near about to get hit by a car. But then she wakes up back in the apartment, so I'm starting to think to myself she never really tried to cross the street. Now the police are in the house asking questions. Hey look, there's Doughboy from the show ATL. So she explains everything that we just saw happen. And he's like, that's impossible. My wife is just fine. And then they bring her in. And we're like, who is this chick? Turns out she's actually Jane Russell. She's like, no, this is bullshit. Then she see Ethan come in. She's like trying to get some reassurance from him. Then he asks Anna if she's okay. And he's like, just stay away from my mom. So at this point, we pretty much think she's hallucinating. I mean, like, look at all the different types of pills she's been taking. You know what I'm saying? She don't want to go outside the house. She drinks a lot. There's a lot of different scenarios for us to think that she's just crazy. So the next day, she does research on Jane Russell. Nothing comes up. Then she looks up Alistair Russell's file. And he was working at some company back in Boston, but the thing they didn't know is he ended up getting fired from there. That information led her to this lady named Pamela, who was also a psychiatrist. But she finds out they sent her a memorial to her because she had passed away. Alistair had his name all over it. But the way she died, they say she fell from 6 stories up. So whether it was a suicide or homicide, somebody's connected in this. It turns out Pamela was also an executive assistant to Alistair. You know what I'm saying? Basically his boss, or her boss. And because she already suspects Alistair, that's more of a tie-in for her. So she goes downstairs looking for David. He's not home. Then she starts looking through his mail, and one of them says Massachusetts parole board on it. Then David just busts in, and she's like, really? Just going through my mail? So to clear all her suspicions, he was like, look, I was violated. I was in a bar fight in Boston. He said, the only reason I got the citation was I got jumped and the cops was around when I started fighting back. When he left that day with his boys, that's what he was trying to go clear up. And she got played off like she wasn't suspecting nothing because she over here feeling stupid as fuck. He's like, look, man, just keep this on the low. You know what I'm saying? I know how you like to spread shit. Then she goes back to spying on the family again. Then she gets a phone call, and Jane's had enough. She's like, look here, you silly bitch. Like, stop spying on me. I'm gonna call the cops. Which is absolutely right. She shouldn't be spied on like that. But don't be having all your windows and doors open for the world to see either. Then Ethan comes by that house, and Anna knows something's wrong now, but it gets to the point where he's like, I can't tell you. Once he says that, the father comes in and gets him up out of there. He's like, you stay away from him, Anna. He kind of threatens her about the police, but he kind of doesn't. You'd have to watch the scene. So then afterwards, Ethan gets into this black van. I'm not even sure where it's going. Then she's messing with her cat. A photo was uploaded on her computer of her sleeping. Who the heck snuck in her room to take that photo? So then she calls the police again to try to figure out what this mystery is. I guess they call Alistair over too. He's had enough. And Jane's had enough too. Then she starts talking about this mountain of evidence that she has. There's a picture of Jane drawing, the picture on her laptop, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But as she's talking, David shows up. They assume it's David, and he tells his side of the story. To which his story checks out. She still brings up all this evidence, and then she still talks about her family. There's a bunch of things that she throws in there. And then she says she's been talking to her husband Ed all week about this stuff, and that's when the lady cop is like, your family is dead. And I'm like, wait, what? Matter of fact, what in all of the fuck did she just say? Yeah, she said her family's dead. Then we get a flashback to all of them driving through a storm. Anthony Mackie out here getting them coins. Needless to say, their relationship was very rocky at this point. And that was her daughter Ivy. So there you go. Clear picture for you. Then an unknown caller was hitting her phone. Probably some side action. He tried to pick it up, but he ended up knocking the phone in the back seat. She's digging to get the phone, but takes her eyes off the road. Then drives the car off a fucking cliff. So this is where the snow effect scene has been coming from. And they crash straight into the ground. How the hell she survived it, I have no idea. Then she sees the vision of how the car ended up. Yeah, man. Dun-dun-dun. So obviously throughout the week when she was talking on the phones with her husband, she was basically talking to herself. So everybody just felt extremely bad for her, but at the same time, they felt like she was still hallucinating. She meets up with Carl the next day so they can switch her dosage. And he's going to go back to having 3 sessions a week with her. Then she tries to make this montage video about her regrets and everything, and that she was sorry for trying to kill herself before. So she's trying to sleep at night. She can't get any sleep. She goes to her computer and starts looking at pictures again. And on the picture of the wine glass, it shows the lady's face, so she could tell, like, yeah, she was definitely real. So she wasn't hallucinating about that supposed Jane Russell being in her house. So he tries to tell David all about it, then David hits her with the real. Turns out that lady's real name is Katie. Now, she is Ethan's real mother, but she's been on drugs and been out of mental institutions. Turns out Alistair's been trying to keep Ethan away from her because he's a danger to society and herself. And the reason he knows all of this, on Tuesday when she was asking him if he heard a loud scream and he was like no and all that, he was smashing Katie that same day. So that was the business he had to attend to. So during the time frame and considering where it happened at, it would have been impossible for David or Alistair to kill her. So if they didn't do it, who did? You guys ready for this shit? Turns out it was Ethan the whole time. He's just been acting like he comes to the front door. Turns out he's been in and out of her house all week. And remember when she looked at Pamela's information? Ethan was the one that actually pushed Pam off a 6-story building. But why'd he do it? Because simply put, this guy's just fucking crazy. Now I know you're thinking to yourselves, why does he have his hand all bloody with a bloody knife? He turns out he just finished stabbing David. So she does a fake out talking about she's going to accept her fate. She's like, well, since my family's not here, I might as well just get in the right mood so you can kill me. She acts like she's going to down some pills and wine and let him finish her off. But right before she does that, she picks up the bottle and smashes him in his face with it. And then the chase is on. They're fighting all the way upstairs. He skewers her with a pitcher to the face. God damn. And he's pretty much about to drown her through the rain. But he doesn't want to drown her. He gets her back up and starts walking her somewhere. But she ends up pushing him on the weak windowsill. She pushes him just enough for it to break as she slides off the other side of it. And he falls straight through. Done deal. Dead. Next day we see her in the hospital talking to the detective. He feels terrible about the situation, especially knowing that he's got 4 kids at home. She's like, did you show the video yet? He said, nope, I'm the only one that's seen it. He gives her the phone and is like, delete everything you want to off of there, and then when you're ready, give me back the phone for, the information that we need, blah, blah, blah. He did her a solid. He cares about her. 9 months later, her place is cleared out. She looks around one more time, and yeah, she's officially gotten over her fear and finally gets out the house and ready to move into a new spot. Which in a strange way, she kind of owes getting over her fear to Ethan. There you go, hell of a murder mystery. And the only reason I can attempt to call it a psychological thriller because you have psychologists in the movie. It's not on that level, but close enough. The Woman in the Window on Netflix. Check it out, like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Sleek, easy, out the hazy, mister. Big, who the goddamn slogan?